Oh, yours is only 6, okay. What is it, this one's 6, that one's 4, you have to take that one.
Yeah.
I would take this one.
Yes. Okay, so it's just the one thing. Yes.
Good evening. I'm calling the meeting to order. We have a quorum, so the meeting is officially in order. The first step on the agenda, as always, would be the pledge to the American flag, and then we'll have a brief prayer. So we'll stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a brief prayer. Thank you, Father, for allowing us to come together in a free country, and help us, Father, to be the good stewards of the money you've given us. In your Son's name we ask it. Amen. We hope that we've got the speaker system a little better tonight. So if you have a need, please let us know if it's not the right volume. We have 2 meetings tonight. We will have the first meeting, which is a brief meeting. Then we'll adjourn that one, and we'll go right into the second meeting, which will be the actual monthly meeting. The first meeting we're having tonight is just for the rate. This is a meeting that's required by law, by the state of Texas. Every year you have to have a meeting on the rate increase, or if no increase, and you have to give the people a chance to voice their opinion of either way. So the meeting we have tonight is based on the agenda or the publication that we put in the paper as required by law, which was the changing the rate from 23.9 to 24.7, which was the max as required by law, which is what we've done the last 9 years. So we're following precedent. So the meeting tonight, the meeting right now, is just for the people in the audience to voice their approval or disapproval of that publication. The meeting that we had last on 11 o'clock in the morning, there was no intention there of trying to hide anything. That meeting was supposed to be a part of the monthly meeting prior, and we just didn't. We had some hitches and we couldn't get that done. So it was nothing there. It was just required by law. So for the next few minutes, we're opening the floor for any type of discussion for or against the changing of the rates or keeping the rates the same for the mud tax for this year.
So the old tax rate was .239?
Yes, sir. The current tax rate.
It's amazing that's not in any of your publications. It's amazing that you've chosen not to put that in any of your publications.
I don't know.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Can you hear the microphone?
The board can't hear you.
It's an piece of paper now.
It's right here. It's on that publication. Oh, no. It's in the newspaper.
Yeah, well, normally with an increase like that, there would be this is what it was, this is what it'll be. You've chosen not to do that for some reason. But you are saying that you are increasing your expenditure.
Can't hear you.
1 second.
I'm just too short.
Okay.
Okay, you're saying that you're increasing the expenditures by 55% this year, your total expenditures, and that you're decreasing the revenue by 19% in your numbers. Why is that? And how could that possibly be a surprise? The answer?
It's just a comment section. It's not by law. It's just a comment section for you, okay?
Okay.
The board will be,
On the record, my question is, why is the board saying that it will spend 55.2% more money in the coming year than it did in this year and receive 19% less income than it received last year? So if you're going to go comment only, I guess we'll handle the response in a separate forum.
we're putting, I'm sorry, the flaws of the state say this is comment only.
Can't hear you either.
I'm saying that the laws of the state say that this is a comment section only, there's not a response from the board. We're not allowed to give a response, it's just comment from the people. A lot of the things that we do, because we're a state entity, has to follow the state rules and state laws, and this is the law which says there's no response at time from us. We will respond in the next regular meeting. Anyone else? Can you hear me?
Lou Wortham, 1097 Redfish. I'll put these in the form of comments and hope that I can get response to the questions that they represent later. Lydia, referring to this. Remember that?
That's a publication, right?
From the, I find it, I didn't get to come, but it's on the back of the agenda for the 11:30 meeting. If I were allowed to ask questions, I would wonder, you give the average residence homestead value at $183,000. And I'm wondering where you got that, and if such a data is available, wouldn't median residence value be more valuable? So I'm guessing that's available from Cheryl Johnson's office. So if I could ask you that after. And the general homestead exemptions, excluding 65 or older and disabled persons, I'm still looking to confirm that those are strictly exemptions and not freezes, because that's something that we can't do. We, meaning the MUD. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Shelby Dill, 373 Ling. Really, I just want to speak out against any kind of tax increase at all. I think that the Galveston County CAD is doing a fine job of increasing our property values and therefore our taxes. And between the taxes and the bonds and the wannabe bonds and the com bonds and this bond and that bond and everything, and actually paying our bills and things, we're paying enough. We don't need any more tax raises, no matter how small they are. I also want to ask, you said something about the precedents for the past 6 or 7 years. What was it that you said just earlier tonight? If you could restate that?
Whoops, sorry.
You said something about how the precedence has been every year that you did this. And what was that again? Could you restate that?
State law.
My understanding is that for the last 7 years, the board has increased taxes to the maximum allowed by law before there is a vote from the members.
Okay, but that's not necessarily just increased taxes, because I have the rates for the past 5 years, and it actually hasn't been an increase each year by any means. In fact, there's been decreases in things, but I guess the maximum allowed by law has changed every year. Okay. But on the record, I'm against any increase, period. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Jeannie Kidwell, 1311 Blue Heron. I don't have a comment. I'm just a little confused as to a tax increase and versus the bond. Had we, I guess it's a rhetorical question, but had we been able to get a larger bond issue passed, would we have to get a tax increase? Is my question, and hopefully I'll find that out. I don't know, but I mean, I think it's a good question.
Good question. Thank you.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
I'm also short. Barbie Miller, 194 Barracuda. Since we can't ask questions, maybe y'all can address this. On line item 1, for water billings, I'm not understanding the 2017-18, 675,000, how we go to 361,920 of this year. I'm also against any tax raising. I agree with what Shelby said. The appraisal district does a mighty fine job of increasing our property values, which therefore does increase the taxes that you receive, even if you keep the tax rate the same or even lower, as you have precedence of doing, you would still get more money. And my other comment is I'm confused about the bond, why we voted on the bond, but now we need a tax increase. I'm confused on the 2 new members who many times in many meetings thought, well, there was so much money and thought it was being ill spent, and now all of a sudden you need more money. So I'm very confused on that. So I'm against any tax increase.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Richard White, 1295 Blue Heron. I'm also against any tax increase, and yet I understand, I understand. At least it's not very big. That's about the only thing I'll say about it. But there, with our house values going up, even though we had Harvey and it didn't affect us, too many of us, too much, you're going to get more money even without a tax increase, but you'll get even extra money now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, in the next meeting, we'll be addressing, the board will be addressing those taxes. So do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Bob, second. By Carter. All in favor? Passed. Okay, the voting is passed. Thank you for your participation there, really do. Okay, the move into the regular call meeting. We've already had the call meeting to order. We've already done the presence of quorum. So now we're going to have we're changing our agenda so that we can have more audience discussion on the agenda items, and then the board can move through the things that we're doing. Then we can talk about it after the meeting, at the very last. So for the next few minutes, if you look at the agenda items, just the agenda items, if there's any agenda item there you'd like to discuss, you may free just come to the mic and you can discuss the agenda items.
On the agenda, you're saying that you want to approve the new tax rate. It would be very inappropriate for the board to approve that tax rate without answering why it cannot get numbers to add up. Is there any hope in getting a balanced set of projections? We get different numbers all the time. I don't know where they come from. And I suspect nobody else does either. But that really needs to stop. It should be fairly simple to determine how much was spent, what the inflation or change is going to be line by line, what the new total will be on both the revenue, which is increasing because the tax base is increasing, yet you're saying you're creating a budget based on having 19% less revenue. Those two statements are not consistent. And it would be appropriate if this board could someday provide consistent financial statements.
Thank you.
You just mentioned that we could do a discussion, so are you sure we can do a discussion? Because that says the activity in which people talk about something and tell each other ideas or opinions. So then we can get our questions answered or not?
Go ahead and ask your question.
Well, if I ask my question, you answer it, you're gonna need to be prepared to ask other people's, because it's not right to just ask mine. So I'm just really confused.
Okay, 1 second. What's that?
It says comments only, or comments, public comment on agenda items only.
Now, we
It's
can't hear
public.
any of y'all back there.
Public
It's
comment?
public comments, not question and answer.
Okay, the item is for public comments and not for questions. Those will be-
Okay, that's what I was, thank you.
Okay. We'll move forward. Go ahead, one more question, one more comment.
Just a quick comment, Evan Truner, number 5, South Sun Piper. Just looking over the proposed budgets, I'm really confused, maybe it's a misprint. That very first line item last year, $670,500 water billing, proposed for this year, $361,900? Or is that just for to date? And then sewer billings is the same thing for the column budget as amended, 2017, 2018 was 778,000, and then for this year, for coming year, 471. Are those misprints? Did y'all see that? Yeah, I mean, are they misprints or are they actually the numbers?
Lydia, I don't know. I'm not even sure what they're looking at.
Pardon?
I need your name for the record, please.
Talk about the
I just need your
difference.
name for the record.
778, 473, 675, 361.
Okay.
Guys, could you please talk into your mics so we can hear you as well? Move your
I
mics
was
closer
just
to
wondering
your
because
body.
it just, if we have the same number of houses,
What I'm understanding the question is on the water
on line
Billing.
400,
and on the sewer billing.
right, which is
the-
402,
the
400 and
bud-
402.
the Budget, okay,
It's just one year, it's, it's like half of last year.
understand.
I asked it a while ago, but they can't answer.
We'll answer that. Okay,
Another big discrepancy on the totals. It's exact, comes up with a total, a difference in the total income of $300,000. That's quite a big difference.
we will answer that. Any more questions?
So we can ask a question?
no, so I-
Okay, because you need to get your verbiage straight.
I will answer
So,
that in the meeting.
where's the attorney at tonight?
He's on his way.
Okay.
And
I
his-
think I would love to get that clarified. Are you not allowed to speak or you choose to not speak? Because I go to the city meetings and they do a really good job when they're having something important going on like tax rate and citizens get up and I believe they follow the same rules of Robert's Rules of Orders that y'all follow. And they do a really good, a good job of answering when it's important items. So I would like that question answered, or I don't know if I can get a question answered from the attorney when he gets here. Are you choosing to not answer, or are you flat out can't answer because somebody's breaking the law here? Either y'all are choosing not to answer, or the city's doing wrong when they do answer. So I kind of would like that answered. And y'all really need to get closer to your mics. Thank you.
I will answer that question. We're choosing to change the format because the last three meetings, there's been so much interaction on issues as we're discussing that we get very confused as far as what we're discussing, so we're trying to keep the discussions in the right focus. And it's strictly that format. I've looked at other formats, talked to other people, and this is what they came back. So we're trying to just work a format that allows us to have a better focus on the agenda item that we're talking about, not on other items to pull up.
But you're talking about changing the agenda. I'm talking
Correct.
about people asking a question and you refusing to answer.
Right, and
That's what I want answered by the
Understand.
attorney. Is that the be-all, end-all? Or is the answer from the attorney gonna be, we recommend them to not answer? Do
Okay.
they recommend you to not answer, or do they tell you they can't answer?
understand.
That's what I would love to know.
We will ask the attorney that.
Thank you.
I think I do.
Something to say, Court?
I wanted to
It's small.
say that we'll get to it.
What's that?
We're not trying to avoid answering, but this is a comment only by technicality, and so we'll get to the questions and answers later.
What technicality?
I don't know, I'm not a bloody lawyer, but,
But you don't know if there is a technicality.
yeah, because it says comments only. It doesn't say questions and
That's the
answers.
technicality.
It says comments only.
You said
And I
before
think,
that.
I know the answer to your question about I'm sorry, sir, yours, about the difference in money, but again, we'll get to that when it comes up.
It just jumps off the page, smacks me right in the face that the buildings are half of last fiscal year. We're expecting to collect only half. And that comes up, this line down here, $300,000 difference.
All right, we're going to be moving on to another agenda item. I wrote down the questions, the answers that you wanted, the questions you had, so we can make sure that we answer those during the meeting. The next item is the update on Terrell Palmer. He is the person that does the bond. He is not here tonight. I asked him not to come because he charges money. And what I did was I had him send an email to the MUD, of which time I now will read into the record what his email said. So this is kind of the update on the process for the bond. So everyone will know what the time frame is about the bond, money's coming in, et cetera. He says, and it's to Bill Rackley, Lydia Cook, the Galveston MUD. We purposely, on the MUD, the board, whenever we have any conversation with any consultant, we purposely copy the board email so that we always have a record in the MUD files of our conversations. So the subject is the MUD 12 meeting, and Terrell says, below would be my estimate on the receipt of funds from the sale of the portion of the elected bonds. October the 1st, Bond Counsel and Financial Advisor received the draft of the bond application. October 15th, Board approves the bond application. October 17th, AEI submits the bond application to TCEQ. November the 15th, TCEQ deems administratively complete. February the 15th, bond issue is approved by TCEQ. February the 18th, bond approves notice of sale, bid form, and preliminary official statement. March 18th, bonds are sold by competitive bid. April the 17th, bond closing date, funds are available to the district. The bonds will be sold by competitive bid. Any resident that would like to purchase a portion of the bond should contact the securities broker and express an interest in bonds. If that broker is unwilling to help, the resident can open an account with the winning bidder and could reasonably be assured that they will receive the bonds. Please let me know if you have any other questions. So I will not comment on that. We'll just read that into the minutes. Just let everyone know kind of the time frame we're doing. One of the big concerns the board has is we do not want to start construction without being able to continue it as we're going. so we have to wait till, when we start construction with some of our reserves, that we don't stop the company and wait for bond issue, that we have to kind of schedule it all together for the same program. That's the reason for that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is just the approval of the reading of the minutes and the, just approval of the minutes of the last two meetings of the special meeting and also the meeting on August the 20th. So we'll take the special meeting on August the 30th first. Is there any amendments to the meeting notes? And if not, do we have a motion to accept the meetings? Have a motion from Carter to accept the minutes?
Second.
Second from John. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, the special meeting for August the 20th, the meetings have been approved.
Hold on a minute. Mr. Prince wasn't at that meeting, so he can't approve it.
Mr. Prince?
He wasn't at the meeting, so he
Right,
can't
I
approve it.
wasn't at the meeting. No. Oh, yeah, okay, I understand.
Who's gonna second it then?
I'll second.
The next minutes is the regular meeting minutes of August the 20th. They're on the listing, so is there any changes to the minutes as in your, if not, do I have a motion to accept the minutes by Eric Muller? Have a second? By Bob? All in favor? Raise your hand. It's unanimous. So the minutes have been approved. The minutes, as soon as Sharon is able to get them transcribed, they will be on the website very shortly, as soon as she has the time to put them on, to make them approved. Okay? The next item is the adopt. Okay. Next item is the adopt the order. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Adopt the order setting the 2018 tax rate and approved all matters thereof. So is there any, as we have heard this is to the board, as we've heard the discussion from the floor? Yep.
Richard, can I make a recommendation that we jump to the budget and then come back to this so that I can explain or answer
Okay.
some of the questions that came up in the public comment section?
All right.
Is that okay?
That's fine. We will
Okay.
change and have the budget, the item number, which one is that, Lydia?
Okay.
Number 11.
So,
No.
this gentleman over here asked a question about this notice of public hearing on the tax rate, and unfortunately, I can't really answer any of these questions on these because this is actually coming from Cheryl Johnson's office. They actually calculate every single number that is on here. I don't know why these particular numbers show up on here, other than the fact that this comes from their requirements as from the property tax code. So what they submit here was basically coming from Cheryl Johnson. So,
What does it say?
what does it say?
Yeah, is it possible to get that information?
What do you mean, what does it say?
We don't have a copy of that.
Well, somebody raised the question about this.
My wife, she has everything.
Is it online?
Well, this was actually in the newspaper, it's published twice, it's required to be published twice in the newspaper, it was in the Galveston Daily News. Probably, see, we didn't have this meeting, so it would have been about 10 days ago was the last one, and then 3 days before that it was in there. All taxing entities are required to publish this in the newspaper, and this format comes directly from Cheryl Johnson's office. Okay. So, and when the board had their special meeting to adopt the proposed rate, that was strictly a formality to basically adopt what was on here, and it's a proposed rate, so today they're going to actually adopt the rate. Okay. All right, so apparently you all got a copy of the budget, and the numbers on this budget for the revenues, to answer this man's question over here, the reason why the numbers are reduced, that in the year that we just finished, or the year that we're in right now, those revenue numbers include the $30 per month rate increase that went into effect in November of 2017. So that's why those numbers are high. This year, we are reducing each month $10 a month for the entire fiscal year for both $5 for water and $5 for sewer. So these numbers are based on prior to this year that we're in right now, that we're finishing, what our annual water and sewer billings were, reduced by $5 a month. Okay. Because that's the mediation agreement that's on the table right now, is to pay $10 a month to every customer in this district. There's 21 homes. Okay. So that's why the numbers are lower. We are proposing a total revenue for the year of $1,568,000, which is $400,000 less than what we're projected to show for this year, what we're just closing. So we have a significant decrease in the billings, or revenue, I should say. We're projecting total expenditures of $1,387,000.
But aren't you getting less because of the $30? I mean, you're getting less,
Yes.
but you're technically, I'm not a math person, but I've got a lot of common
Paying
sense.
back the $10.
I mean, we
plus
paid
you're
you
not
a lot of
getting
money,
the $30.
and now,
Yeah.
so you're getting less than last year, but that's because you overcharged last year, or not overcharged, but you charged the $30.
So we're also charging you, this also being reduced even further.
So it's basically.
Because we based this year's revenue on 16's revenue, and then we reduced it by $10 a month for everybody in the district. So, has nothing to do with 17.
Did your budget assumption assume that you would pay out all of those $10 per month? Or did you assume that some people would fall off and others would?
I based it on an average number of about 1,470 active connections.
So did you assume that those 1,470 would all get all of their money? Because if you move away, you just, and never apply for it, the budget is steeper.
It's just based on active number of connections times $10 a month.
Oh, so you just assume, okay, so
That's all.
we'll get a little, you won't have to pay all of that.
Kind of depends. I mean, it just
I mean, if
depends.
somebody wants to give us their money.
So, that's the total revenue, so the revenues are $1,387,000, our expenditures, our expenditures are $1,387,000, and our revenues are, proposed revenues are $1,568,000, giving us a potential excess of about $180,000. I'm going over all these numbers and trying to answer these questions.
This is
Please let me
about,
finish.
this is about the budget, and $30.
I know, but let me finish. Oh, okay. So, this number also includes an M&O tax rate that is just slightly higher than your M&O rate last year. The total rate that I'm proposing to the board is the same rate that was assessed last year. Okay? So, that's what's in this budget.
What's the M&O?
Maintenance and operations. We have two components of taxes. There's maintenance and operations that runs the district and general fund, and the other part is INS that covers your debt service. So, the only number that is in here for this one is the part for M&O. We're covering for maintenance and operations of your water and sewer system. So, this includes a tax rate that is just slightly higher than last year, but the total rate of M&O and INS is exactly the same as last year's rate. and that is the recommendation we're on making. And that's why I wanted to go over this first. So,
You have a question?
I just have a quick question for Lydia. So, if a person lived here and paid the $30 a month for the 7 months and then moved away, and then somebody else moved into the house, is the person now living in the house getting that $10 a month?
I'm going to interrupt you, only because, we're not going to answer the question. The PUC rate agreement was just signed last Friday, and Mr. Bacon will go over that in detail when he speaks. So that the whole agreement was just signed this Friday. So for any kind of projection of what we'll do beyond that is premature until he actually discusses the agreement. What's that?
You should have already done it, because we've already received a $10 rebate once.
No,
There's a couple
that's-
different.
Two different
that's,
issues, two different issues. Two different issues.
That's, we were dealing with an administrative hearing at in the state of Texas. And, the board approved that rebate, but it was finally entered into an order where the state approved that course of action. But that has very little to do with the tax rate. So
Yeah.
I think the effort is trying to segment on topic.
The attorney's report today will include the detailed description of the PUC rate that was finally signed and approved and detailed on this past Friday. And Mr. Bacon will detail exactly what we can and can't do on that. We've had some projections, but we've never had the final rate yet to say, now it's done. So we're still we kind of got the cart before the horse by giving away the $10, but that's okay. But everything else waits on the rate being signed. So that's what Mr. Bacon will attend to. And then we can have discussions about the future.
I'll describe that in detail. As best I can.
Okay, the question in front of the board is the operating, item number 9, the resolution adopting the operating budget for the fiscal year. At the last board meeting, we approved a budget, operating budget, so this is an amendment to that budget. The board in total has spent a lot of time with Sharon and the people of the employees of the MUD, going over every line item. One of the things that we did for the budget was we actually used the budget based on actuals of this year rather than on projections. So one of the ways we pull the expenses back into line was by using actuals. And as we went through, we actually tried to throw the actuals based on what we used spending and what we projected to spend rather than based on just a normal 5% increase over last year's budget. So for that reason, the operating budget that we'll be voting on, the last meeting, we approved an operating budget that had a excess of $173,888, and with a couple of changes as far as to the tax rate, et cetera. The new operating budget that we're proposing, that we'll be voting for, now is in excess of $181,102. So what we're voting on is just the amendment to the budget that was approved at the last meeting. So, do we have any questions before we have a vote? Okay, do you have a motion to accept the budget as amended? Bob Bassett, Carter, accepted. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Passed. Good. That's number 9, all right?
so you can go back to the rate.
Right, yeah. Now we'll go back Now going back to the item number 6, the adopt order setting the 2018 tax rate for MUD 12. So before we move this, I'd like to we've heard to talk to the board, we've heard from the members. I'd like to have a discussion just among ourselves. So, Eric?
I think for us to raise taxes, especially with giving the $30 back, I think that would be disingenuous because it looks like we're trying to get the money back in the same way. So I'm going to vote against raising the taxes and keep with the same rate we had last year.
Mr. Prince?
I have no comment. I have no comment.
No comment, okay. Ms. Bassett?
Well, Richard, you and I and Lydia discussed this budget and the tax rate, and this board said if the bond would pass, there would be no tax rate increase, and I'm in favor of keeping the rate where we were this year at 23.9.
Clerk?
Proposal. And that is the proposal.
Okay, all right. All right, so do I have that in favor of a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, we keep the tax rate at 23.9 where it was this year, and show no increase for next year.
Do a second?
I would second that.
Quarter seconds. Okay, we have a motion to keep the tax rate the same and do not change it for next year. And we have a second. So all in favor, raise your hand. Passes unanimous. The tax rate will stay the same as it was this past year. No increase. And for the people that got the last budget, with the short over at the table, it shows that on the budget. Couple of things now. The next item is just something that we have to do. And it's, to that. This is to approve the minimum, for the information form of the notice of purchasers. Every year we have to reapprove the amendment, and just keep it like it is. We just have to approve the amendment. And I'm looking for the,
I think it's that mic right
Number 7, I think so.
what's that?
Under 7.
7. Yeah, that's what
Item
those-
7, this also reflects the district's membership and certain annual information about the district, as Richard said. So it's regular reporting.
Counselor, is your microphone on?
No, it is not?
No, it is.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
All right. This includes membership of the board, certain financial information. It's regular reporting. It goes to the state.
This goes to the state, and it'll also be the items that are used when you buy and sell your house as far as tax rates. So, I do have a motion to accept the information form by Carter. I have a second by Eric. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. And the next item is in the same vein. Is the order accepting the final levying of the taxes that we just voted on. So,
It's accepting the final roll
right,
from Galveston County, handles your tax assessment and billing. And so they've got a final roll for you. And so you apply the rate you just approved to this roll.
to final roll, to whatever the final
Approving the
value.
final roll.
Right,
Yeah, there's still a certain component that is uncertified, but Galveston will go through the process and deal with those petitions.
Right.
And you see that on your tax report.
So we're voting on a resolution to accept the tax rate that the tax value that Galveston County will assess on the tax rate that we just held firm. So that's what we're voting on. It's just a legal formality in the state of Texas. So do I have a,
Yeah, Galveston County requires you to do that for them to assess your taxes.
right. Okay. So do I have a motion to accept the appraisal rule? A quarter? Second by Bob. All in favor? Passed unanimous. Okay? Okay. The next item is an order accepting the rules, policies, and code of ethics for the investments. The MUD 12 has a variety of monies invested for reserves throughout different banks, which we have discussed at times. If you'd like to see a complete list of that, you're free to go to the main office and it'll be given to you. But it's just monies that we have to keep on reserve for in case of emergencies.
So,
And-
if I could clarify
Right.
what this is. The district has a standing order as their investment policy for investment of public funds. It's required by the state that the district have a policy in place for that.
Right.
What we have this year is every year, we do an updated list of authorized banking institutions the district can place its public funds with. And that list comes from an investment review. Basically, it's a statewide list for public funds. It's generally 99% the same from year to year, but there are some institutions that go out of business or are purchased, and so that list is updated annually. So the attachment today is really just your one-page update of that list
Right.
of authorized banking institutions. The full policy is much thicker and is available for public record for anybody who's interested, as you said. But this is just the annual update to the institutions.
Correct. So, do I have a motion to accept to adopt the order with the annual review of the rules, policies, and codes? By Carter, have a second? By John, all in favor? Passes unanimous. Okay. Next is Lydia's booking report, and we got you ready, Lydia. You said you need to leave at 7:15, so you're ready to go. So
Okay,
Lydia's
so
going to give
for
the
the
monthly
cash,
booking report.
so for the cash summary, we do have two transfers, one from the tax account to the general fund for 10,000 and another 10,000 to go to the debt service, so the board will need to approve those two transfers. For the financials, we are 11 months into the year. We have just this 1 month left. So our year-to-date revenues were $1,760,000. Our actual is $1,779,000, and our 11-month budget was $1,760,000. So we're about $20,000 ahead of the game for the 1 month. Our water expenditures to date were $255,000 against a budget of $263,000, so we are under budget on that. Sewer operations, we are at $335,000. Our budget is $288,000, so we are over budget by about $47,000. Our general operating expenditures is at $323,000. We budgeted $314,000, so we're just slightly over budget by about $8,000. Our administrative expenses are $370,000 on a budget of $285,000, so we are over by about $85,000. And we had capital expenditures of $414,000 on a budget of $239,000. So far for the year, we are to the good by about 80,000. And we just have 1 month left.
Very good. Thank you, Lydia. So for the year, we're positive 80,000. We've got some changes, some stuff under, some stuff over, but so far we're having a year where we're still in the black by $80,000. So do I have a motion to accept the bookkeeper's report?
Yeah, we should also make a motion to approve the bank transfers at the same time.
Right. Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the bank transfers?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made.
Approve the
Second.
bank transfers.
Eric, so we're, all in favor, raise your hand. So we'll do, the bank transfers will be made as required.
I'll go ahead and make this final.
Do we have a motion to accept the bookkeeping report, which shows $80,000 in the positive so far this year? Carter makes a motion. Do we have a second? John, Eric, second. All in favor? It passes. Okay. Thank you, Lydia.
Thanks.
I'm moving to number 13, only because Lydia has to depart in just a second. This is an annual letter of engagement to where we hire Lydia's firm.
I don't have it today.
Okay,
We'll have to table it until next
so
month.
we'll do it
I
next meeting?
apologize.
Is that okay? All right, so we'll,
I'll be disengaged for 1 month.
okay. So it'll be next meeting. All right. We'll go to number 12. This is a consideration and a possible approval by the bond, and our attorneys has had some discussion with this matter of making the board keep a 9 months reserve for emergencies. At the present time, we have probably 13 months reserve, but we've never had a policy of saying X amount of months in reserve.
So, Monticello allows you to do this instead of spend down your existing reserves below that 9 months. But it's really an operating budget issue, and it's setting a policy in place with Lydia as the monitor of that policy, and it'll be a separate line item, and you would see it generally, if you choose to view it that way, if Lydia does it that way, your 9 month reserve and then excess reserves, as opposed to just having it all lumped in together. So that 9 month reserve would adjust from year to year based on your annual operating budget. And then as a policy, you can see if you do need to dip into it, there's no rule against it other than it would require your discussion and vote in a meeting as opposed to just authorizing projects or expenditures out of your in normal operations out of your operating fund. So it kind of sets it aside. It's a good visual. It's a good policy for you guys for storm preparation. I think you will still maintain about a 12-month reserve in general, but it's an accounting procedure and a little bit of an accountability procedure for you. So it would really be a motion to authorize and instruct your bookkeeper to document your reserve as a 9 month reserve and then excess reserves.
I think it's a good idea.
Discussion?
I think it's a real good idea.
Okay.
So what we're saying here is we can have a reserve of 12 months,
Yes,
but we will not go below 9 months.
right, without
Okay.
a discussion and vote for it. As opposed to, you could just go below it by normal operations, but this will require an additional vote. So you're setting a policy to require discussion and a vote for any use of the 9 month reserve. Yes.
Once I close out the books, I can give you what that 9 months will be.
Right, and it'll be, and as you amend budget, if you amend it during the year, it's a floating number, but it's based on your annual budget.
I'd like to just say, if, after we have that number from Lydia, we take a look at it, and if we feel 9 months isn't proper, we can go to 10 or
Yes,
or whatever.
absolutely.
Okay? That's all, you know.
Okay.
But we did talk about making sure we may have more than a year's
I like a
reserves.
12-month reserve for you guys.
Right.
But this would be kind of a floor
Okay.
as a policy matter. You can go in, it's your self-imposed rule, so you can use it, but as a floor, and that way, you know, if you set a 12-month floor, then you do use your reserves from time to time, then you would need to probably, if you set 12 months at the floor, you would need to carry 15 months. And then that would mean you need to run a intentional surplus, or, you know, for some time to build up there. You're at about a 12-month reserve, give or take. Set the floor now at 9. It fits within your existing budget.
When will she have the numbers?
Pardon me?
When will she have the numbers?
When we have the numbers.
She'll have them. It's
By next meeting? She'll have it by next meeting.
Okay. You want to just put this to the next meeting?
We could, we can
Well, then,
pass it now,
yeah.
and
Okay.
after we have the numbers, if we want to look at it and change it,
Okay.
we'll change it.
All right. Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion to accept, to put in place the financial reserve of 9 months floor?
And the amount actually is stated, it's 9 months, whatever that is.
Right, but you're right. Right. So we'll make a motion to that effect. Porter makes a motion.
Oh, second.
Bob seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Board, if I may, before we go into the engineer's report, which will have some